everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting. In another episode of the Indie Show, we are discussing Sandman tonight. And yes, I have two deluxe editions because we're discussing Volume 6, which is like scattered all over the place. So, but I got my usual Sandman crew with me tonight. We got the Unruly Simeon. What is going on, sir?
Go Dogs!
Yes, he's rooting for the Georgia Bulldogs, always. We got my man, Comics Books NYC. What's going on, Kavi?
Go France!
Is that your team of choice for the World Cup?
Yeah, for this World Cup. It's not my team I'm rooting for per se, but it's my prediction. I'm predicting France repeats.
I think that's actually a pretty good prediction.
Pretty good prediction. But as far as rooting, of course, I'd love Team USA to try and do something.
We have to be able to score goals.
They got to the round of 16, but I wouldn't call myself like a always rooting for Team USA fan in international sports competitions. Like, there's like a little bit of a forced sense of national pride there. Like, you don't have to root for Team USA if you don't want to.
Yeah,
I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them do well. I think the women's team always does better than the men's team, frankly.
They do, yeah, for sure.
Anyway, good to be here. Good to be with the Sandman crew again. So.
Yeah, we are currently short our fourth member, but she says she's on her way, so hopefully she'll be here.
She'll show up. Yeah, she'll.
Yeah, so Jennifer will be here in just a minute to join us. But yeah, we're talking Volume 6, which I feel like is. They just decided is a catch-all of, okay, here's all these one-offs he put in like issues 29 through 31 and 38 through 40 and 50 and a couple other places, and they just shoved them in a volume. Because like I said, I got them spread over two things here. So
yeah, it's what, nine individual stories, right?
Yeah, they're all like different stories. So yeah.
I got this. I think I have. This is the 30th anniversary version of the trade paperback, so they made it all convenient in this one book. So,
these are all. So, John, these are technically we can spoil it, but these are all of these issues are basically individual stories that they have shoved into a volume. So, like I said, this is like issues 29 through 31, 38 through 40, and 50, and then the Sandman special. I think that's right. If I got that right. So these are all.
It's Sandman special number 1, the Orpheus origin, which was, I think that was the first Sandman one shot where like the main book was still going, but Neil decided to not do it in the main book for whatever reason. It's a very crucial issue though, so that always like confused me a little bit not to make it part of the main series, because it's in every version of Fables and Reflections. It's included as part of the trade is concerned, and then the hardcovers and all that. But as far as a single issue, decided to release it as its own one shot.
Yeah. So, what did you think of this collection of stories? Then, really, what did you think of this group of stories as a whole?
I think I might like these individual stories just as much, if not more, than some of the main arcs.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're quite well done, and they usually have decent art, which isn't always the case.
Mm-hmm. Especially that P. Craig Russell art in Ramadan issue 50 is absolutely incredible, and the lettering is incredible. I mean, even though it could be, it's a little hard to read sometimes, depending upon your, level of comfort in reading like very unique font types.
Yeah.
But that issue, Sandman issue number 50 is a pretty special one as far as overall presentation, artwork, style. And I would agree that a lot of the issues in this collection have really good art. And there's some standout issues. Like it's hard to think of it as an arc because it isn't an arc.
It's not an arc.
But it covers a good chunk of Orpheus, Sandman's son, or dream son, which is, I think, very important in general, just to the universe, the overall lore. But is that me with the feedback?
Yeah, I'm not getting feedback, or I didn't hear it.
I'm getting it on my end.
But maybe.
I can hear a little echo.
I'm going to turn my mic down.
I had not heard an echo yet. Is that
coming? What about now? I'm still getting an echo. Now?
A little. It's better.
All right. Well, why don't you guys keep talking while I figure this out?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not getting it at all. But that's
Okay.
I don't know
Good.
I don't
Maybe
know.
it's just me.
Congratulations, sir.
Oh,
Congratulations.
nice. Happy birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday. So yeah, I would agree. I think I agree. Like some of these are really good. Some of them, and maybe there's more later that makes them seem a little forgettable to me. The Orpheus stuff, I think, is maybe it, and the last 50. I think
Ramadan. Yeah, Ramadan.
Yeah, the Ramadan, I think, are maybe my favorites of this.
I'm in agreement. Those are my two favorite stories / issues in this collection.
Well, and I consider both kind of the one with Lady Constantine, like with John Constantine's ancestor and Orpheus, as well as his origin, both in my discussion of that.
Which one was that? Was that Thermidor? Or
Thermidor.
Was that 3 Septembers that was Thermidor?
Yeah, Thermidor, which is the first issue. Technically, I don't know how it is and how they're arranged in the volume, but I just read it the way they like.
Right. In the trade, they arrange it as issue 31, 29, 38, 30, 39, Sandman Special 1, 40, then 50. It's like, what?
Yeah, so it's all mixed up. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to start with Thermidor, I think,
okay.
Which is basically set in Revolution France during the now I'm gonna forget because it's been so long. I'm gonna forget the stupid name.
I found that interesting is that there was 3 different stories in here that were centered around kind of like political figures and unique cities. Like you got the whole French Revolution thing. You have the Baghdad Ramadan and the Shah. Like I don't forget. Is it called a Shah or I don't know. He's like the king, right? Or the main character. I don't. And then what was the other one? It was Julius Caesar's
August. It was
Augustus. Right?
Yeah, or Octavian, depending on which way. Yeah, which way you wanted to do it, but yes.
And there was Marco Polo, but I wouldn't consider him a like a leader of.
But it is some sort of history thing.
That was another kind of figure from history woven in geniusly by Neil Gaiman, like he does.
So.
Yeah, that's Gaiman showing off his education.
Yeah,
is that what that is? So, I thought Jen would be with us by now. Let's see. Okay, I don't know. Maybe hopefully she'll be here in a minute.
And that one was a controversial one because he had essentially made it, he had inferred that, that his uncle Julius Caesar, molested him as a child or something. Or raped him, essentially, right? Which it's not like hard historical fact. I guess it's like a speculation thing.
There is some speculation on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's not
obviously
like
no one knows.
Gaiman didn't make that up, but nobody knows for sure if that's true or not. Yeah.
I think it's the most significant time in pop culture history that it was referenced, though, like in a story like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, let's dig into Thermidor, and then we'll go from there. So basically, it is set during Revolution France, and she is basically on a mission for, I guess, technically for Dream to recover Orpheus's head. Because he can't, as we'll find out later, he can't die. So what did you guys think of this whole setup and story? Kavi, I'll let you go first.
I mean, setup wise, it was okay. Story wise, it was okay. For me, like I think the part that sticks with you is like the final 5 or so page sequence with the song and the corpses and the bodies and the singing, and like I will always remember those like 4 or so pages, like every time I get to them. But the story, the way that it gets to that in that issue, it's almost like every time it's like a wash for me. And since I had originally reread this like 3 weeks ago and we pushed the show back, I kind of forgot what happened in the rest of the issue, if I'm honest.
I mean, go ahead. Oh, I thought I was going to say something, but yeah. I mean, it's really just about her getting caught and them trying to get her to tell them where the head is, because they
right, yeah, because there isn't really that much to it, right? Like
no.
before
I
that
mean,
point. And that point is where it gets super interesting and crazy and creepy and bizarre, and like, they're all in a trance and they're singing a thing, and it's I don't know. That's the part of the issue I imagine like being adapted, whereas the rest of the issue is like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like it's an excuse to sort of introduce Orpheus in terms of is that he's a living head, and you're like, what the heck? Because you don't get any of this till later, at least in this, if you read it the way I did. And but really, it's just setting the background of like how ridiculous France was at this time, that they just basically would, the people drunk with power, that because they overthrew people that were drunk with power. And it's just like they were worse than what they overthrew for a little while. And yeah, and then you get to this very creepy, crazy scene where like the head sings, and then it just changes everything. And according to this, changes history in terms of ending the terror. What about you, Unruly? What were your thoughts on this particular one?
It's amazing how large groups of people can lose their mind for a minute, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
I loved it. Robespierre was very much how he's portrayed in this story, in real life, and he was, hoisted by his own petard. I anything with more Johanna or Joanna, how would you pronounce that?
I just say Joanna. I just say Joanna, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I would love to see her get her own 24-issue maxi series. Wouldn't hurt my feelings a bit.
Yeah, she's definitely an interesting character that that we haven't seen a ton of yet, but like she makes an impact for sure.
Yeah.
Well, she is a Constantine, so that that probably tells all you need to know. But
I know very little about the sort of post-Vertigo version of the Dreaming Universe that has come out on DC Comics.
I don't know,
because there's been several comics. The Dreaming is one of them, and there's been several like miniseries, one-shots, and just other smaller titles. And Lucifer, obviously, I haven't read any of that stuff, and so I don't know if that character comes back around in some of these other books or not. But
yeah, I have no clue.
I'm pretty sure Jennifer, I saw on one of her shows.
Yeah, she reads a lot of that stuff, right?
With her and Mars, that they both like the Dreaming.
Okay.
Well, the artwork is fantastic in it. The Bilquis Evely artwork in it. I believe she's the illustrator on it. She's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you guys want to touch on this? If we're going to get through all of these, I know, Kavi, you got.
Well, the issue just leaves off with like kind of a semi cliffhanger, right? Like,
she basically takes the head to where he asked him to take her, which is I forget even where it says Orpheus's head, some island. The priest will take care of me. I was stolen from the island many years ago, or whatever. So there's some. Doesn't even really say.
Oh yeah. It's
just at some island where there's priests to dream, I guess, and it's yeah. So I assume that's setting up more for later, but
yeah.
All right. The next one is August. So we go from Thermidor to August, which is the story.
So am I going backwards now, or am I going forwards?
I don't know. This is just how they're ordered in my book. I'm sorry.
Mine too.
So it goes Thermidor to August for me. What does it?
For me, it goes Thermidor to the Hunt, then August. So I got to go to August. What's that? Page 100.
This is the Hunt.
Yeah.
See, that's not even in this volume. That's in the other volume. So yeah.
So August is the Augustus one, right?
Yes.
The Roman one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Okay. And it's basically the story of the Emperor Augustus, or Octavian, depending on Octavius, who was Julius Caesar's heir and nephew. And And basically, it's the story of him and this, for lack of a better person, actor / midget that he spends the day with as a pauper and in his own kingdom to see how things are when he's emperor.
Which is something what Dream told him to do, right? Or
like that's the impression we get at the end is that Dream was the one that inspired him to do this.
Right.
Like that Dream was the one that told him to spend days with his people every so often. So that is, we definitely get that as he's telling the dwarf his story. That's basically, we get to that reveal that Dream's the one that told him. And we get during it, like the reveal you talked about is that it highly hints that his uncle basically, molested him as a child. But the other thing we get is that the Dream is basically like he basically sees two visions of what Rome could be, that it could last forever or it could fade. And it's clear that he chooses the path to make Rome fade is basically what the story you get here, which, so what did you guys think of August? Unruly, I'll let you go first this time.
I remember the first time I read this and you see the dwarf little person walking up to the palace. And I thought it was going to be when he first meets Augustus or they first start interacting, there's a legend that when Augustus was, when they were doing the ceremonial parades with the adoring throngs, worshiping him as a future god, that he would have a dwarf in the chariot with him whispering in his ear, "You were born between piss and shit, just like every one of these people cheering you on," to keep him grounded. And I thought that's where it was going.
Well, I feel like this is sort of where that is, though, in terms of that's what he's doing is basically, putting himself back down to the bottom to remind himself of who he is. But
I love the reveal, though. I mean, here he's inherited this empire. He's expanded and solidified it and truly made it a wonderful place to live if you're a Roman citizen.
Right.
And he's willing to throw all that away because Uncle Julius had his way with him a time or two.
Yeah. So what about you, Kavi? What did you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't my favorite issue, I guess, of this collection, but I did quite enjoy it. Who's the artist on this one? Do you know that off the top of my head? Because
Ryan Talbot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I think art-wise, this was my least favorite. I don't know about you guys. Just a personal taste thing, I guess. I'm not saying it was bad necessarily, but it wasn't my favorite, I guess, of the issues, especially considering that there's a lot of good art in the other issues. So just speaking subjectively from an art standpoint, wasn't my favorite. But I do like the sense of historical sort of, I don't know, you're like peeking into this like little corner of history or a certain version of history or a certain version of events. And I always enjoy anytime Neil does that in a story, right? It's hard for me to not like it based on the way that he set up the story. The part at the end, though, is the part where I start getting a little bit, I guess, distracted by it a little bit in a way, especially it seems a little thrown in to me. I don't know. It's just I wasn't a huge fan of the latter half of the issue. Let's just say that, like the final.
I'm not sure what it was really going for.
Yeah, like I understand that that's like a thing that's been debated, right, as far as history. But like, what was the point of bringing it into the issue? Maybe Neil's talked about it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It kind of confused the message of what the issue was about.
Well, I don't know I'll be honest. And I felt
up until that point, I thought it had a certain message, and then it kind of like, oh, okay, I don't know. It threw me off a little. The first time I read it, it threw me off a little bit. Every time since then, I know it's coming, so it's not jarring. But yeah,
I think these stories, and like the previous one is building, throwing in just a little bit of continuity with his son and Constantine. But I think this is just his way of clearing his mental throat before he dives into a long arc,
mm-hmm.
And he's having fun.
Yeah.
And I agree with you about the art.
Yeah, because these issues are not sequential at all. Like contextually, they are just here and there in between main Sandman arcs.
Yeah.
The art is pretty weak, but it's cool seeing Dream in a toga.
Yeah. I would say the pages with Dream are probably the strength of the art in the issue, for sure.
Well, there was one line, I think it was on the last page, and in his will, Augustus also appointed Tiberius as his successor. Our divine rulers have since then been successfully evil, mad, foolish, and now all three. I love that. That was like my favorite line, or I guess that's the narrator's voice, but yeah.
I mean, it's very clear that Augustus set Rome up to eventually fail. Is what he's implying.
Yeah.
That Augustus made a clear choice to end Rome rather than let it carry on. So,
well, based on Julius's definition of success, not his. You know what I mean.
Yeah. It was sort of
his version of success is the total opposite of Julius's.
Julius wanted this, so no. Yeah. It's basically what it is. All right. Any other thoughts on that one before we just kind of keep moving?
Was there anything else about Dream in this that was like key to mention, or?
I mean, he just shows up and basically tells him that he has the choice.
Yeah. Dream isn't always above the fray. I mean, he likes to poke his hand in every now and then.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically the one that tells him to go and spend the day as a beggar. And that's really the only role he plays. And it's clear, though, those days as a beggar are what helped him make the decision. But,
right.
So.
Then he does come to him at the end and sort of instigate the whole, other part of it or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what was the next one in your order?
Next one for me is 3 Septembers and a January.
That is the first issue in this trade over here.
Okay. Which is the King of the United States.
Right. Now, I guess that's a hypothetical leader of a nation. A different kind, based on a true story, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
He was a real person.
Real person, yeah. Which actually just makes it, even cooler. Yeah.
And he would hand draw his own currency, and people would give him money for it, just like in the story.
Yeah. So and it really just starts as kind of a bet between him, Dream, and Despair. Is the way it basically,
It's like, let this guy kill himself, or let this guy, have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the battle or bet between the two of them.
Yeah.
And I love how, and this isn't the only time his sister tells him, "What are you doing? We're above all this." Clearly, clearly, Dream is not above all this.
Yeah. I like this issue quite a bit, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that, Dream is... It's clear that Delirium, Despair, and Desire like to mess with the older siblings. And Dream is the one that they know how to push his buttons, that his button is the easiest to find and to push for all of them. Like, whereas Death is just like, brother, what are you doing?
And listen, man, is this the first time we get to see Delirium? I think it is, isn't it?
No.
I mean,
but I think it had been a minute. I think it might be the second time.
more than a panel or two. I mean, she has some real dialogue.
Yeah, I particularly enjoy the Delirium character in this issue when she shows up.
I mean, the only time we'd seen her before,
it's a little bit more. It's like a little bit more like digestible. What instead of just pure nonsense, like it still kind of has some nonsensical.
Yeah.
You know, what is it? Cadence to it, or whatever. I'm not a language expert, but iambic pentameter. I'm just saying that for no reason. I don't even know what it means.
Oh, she's having that trouble that okay, so this is what her computer won't take the link. It's going to StreamYard. It did that to me.
I've had that happen.
I've had that happen. I'm trying to remember, how did I fix that? The email link usually works. I'm
not sure, honestly, because anytime I've ever done that, I've just forwarded it to I forwarded it to myself, I think sometimes that does it. I don't know. Not sure.
Or maybe one of you guys could try forwarding it to her as well. I don't know. But yeah, she's having computer issues is why she's not here. So I will. I can't remember how I fixed that before, because I had that happen to me one time before where it wouldn't, and then they had to send it again, and it finally went through. But I sent it to her via the Instagram and via email, so I don't remember. I thought the email worked before. Anyway, sorry, but yeah. So basically, we get the story of this kind of crazy guy that basically that Despair and Desire and Delirium are trying to use to get at Dream, and they make a bet with him, and Dream just gives him a dream, and it's enough to keep him from ever falling to the three of them. They don't get him. It's because and then and Desire eventually sends, what is this guy that we haven't seen before?
King of Pain or whatever.
King of Pain, yeah, the King of Pain. But I thought he had a different name. He was a more.
I mean, I don't know why, but there's this one panel or one page sequence where Dream appears out of nowhere, in the corner as he's approaching death, or no, as he's approaching Desire in the cab with when she's or when they are with the King of Pain, which I'm looking for it. I'm trying to find it.
Well, he's in the cab when what's his name?
Yeah, when he's not looking like himself, but you could tell it's Dream.
Yes.
I like
that. He was in the carriage
with
Desire when Pain returns, and Desire's yelling at him how did you do it? And he's he has his dignity, sister, brother. He is, after all, an emperor, and he just walks away.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
Yeah. But yeah, ultimately he stays and he never falls for them until death comes for him, which is it's an story.
I think this page is the one I was talking about earlier, and just those bottom panel sequence right there, where you see her through the cab, and you see him in the corner. I really like that panel.
Yeah.
And the artist on this one was who was it?
Sean McManus.
Yep, Sean McManus.
Yeah. So, do you guys have anything you want to contribute to this one? I feel like this is one that does actually contribute a little more, just because it's just more. It gives you another example of.
It's more tomfoolery between the endless. Really,
yes,
is what it is.
Which
is fun.
It's just more of them trying to poke at Dream, which is constantly appears to be their favorite sport of these other three, is to try to mess with Dream, and he seems to not be willing to be above it.
And Desire is a twisted little rhymes with what you do on Fourth and Long now, aren't they?
Yeah. Try pasting one more time here.
All right.
Oh, I'm gonna try to copy the link and send it again, and just see if Jim can get it here. This is a fresh version. Maybe it'll go. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So
That said 10,000. I love that last like black panel where it's just like and this is what happened. It's like the little black text at the end of the movie that tells you like what happened after the movie, like to the characters. He was 10,000 people filed past his body as it lay in state, and it was over a 2-mile long line, I guess.
Which is just
that's cool. It had an eclipse, and he was a real emperor of the United States.
It's very cool. It's a fun story that I had never heard of that guy before. So it's kind of I just looked up enough to know that it was like based on a true story or whatever. So
yeah.
And having Mr. Clemens as a background character was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Well, for me, that leads us to Orpheus as the next thing. That's where they stick it.
So Sandman special number 1, that one.
Yeah, that's where it fits in for me. But we can. So I don't know where that fits for you guys because completely.
I mean, we've been all over the place already. I just go by page number at this point. So 152.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Song of Orpheus, Part 1.
So
good, such a classic, like must-read one-shot in Sandman. Can't.
Okay, so why is it a must-read, Kavi? What is it about this one that you love?
I like everything about it, honestly. Like, it's a tragic kind of. It's a tragic story.
Yeah.
It just tears at your heartstrings, honestly. It's an incredibly sad, kind of deep story. And the way it ends, it's like, it's honestly heartbreaking, right? By the end of it, he's pretty much has a broken relationship with his father, right?
He basically. So it's a story of Dream's son, and for those that are hanging out, and basically we start it basically on his wedding day,
right?
And death comes for his bride right after they're married, and in terms of because he's sort of betrayed by this supposed friend, and it leads to her death.
And, when he's saying, "Hey, why did everybody else left, but." Thank you for sticking around. It's like, oh no, she's sticking around for a reason.
Yeah, and
so sad.
And then basically Orpheus can't let her go. He sort of refuses, and he demands that Dream helps him bring her back, and he refuses. But the other enlists are less inclined to not get involved. As we get our first real interaction with he calls him one thing, but it's the brother we haven't seen.
Destruction. Destruction. Yeah.
And
this is the first appearance of Destruction, I believe. Right? Yeah, I believe it is.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't remember, what was Destruction's former incarnation? Before he was Destruction, he was. You find that out in the later.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Can't remember. But it was the opposite of Destruction.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, I forget.
But what I love about this story is.
I'm sure maybe Badeker in the chat knows. Because he's confirming it is the first appearance.
Yeah.
Destruction.
Freaking Orpheus is a bit of a doofus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got shitty judgment and friends. He's very human. He goes to these great lengths and then to be reunited with his wife and then fucks it up at the end.
Yeah.
incredibly human.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, Hades completely F's with him. Like, by laughing when he leaves, like, he intentionally puts that seed of doubt that he's just being messed with. Like, and, so yeah, he looks, I mean, this is, he looks back and he loses her. And then he just kind of goes crazy. And ultimately, like, gets ripped apart by, I don't know, or these are supposed to be, like, some version of Amazons or what these are supposed to be.
Which? Where?
The Bashante.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That like end up that are the ones that kill him, but basically eat all of his body except for his head.
Yeah.
And and he does all of this to himself to a certain degree. And he blames Dream for it, but like Dream told him not to, was the one that told him not to do any of this, like to not do this to himself.
Yeah. And then is essentially his mom takes his side, right? That's the final chapter, or is there a final part right before that? Right before
he gets well, she tries to help him also, and he refuses. Like,
right.
Like, just like Dream tried to help him and telling him, like, Death tries to help him, tells him not to do this. Dream tells him not to do this. His mother tells him not to do this, and he just will not be. Destruction was the only one that was like, nah, go do it. But, like, everyone else is like, tries to warn him off this path, and he makes this whole path for himself. I don't know. He came across as very foolish and like unrealistic. Yeah, very human. The worst of the traits. Man, I feel bad. I sent you the link. I tried sending it again, Jennifer, like copying it again. I feel bad. The link is not working. I don't understand.
Yeah. Freaking StreamYard.
I know. It did that to me the other day with somebody, and he ended up just sending it to me another way, and it ended up working. Or I had to send it to myself or something. I don't remember. Or I had to copy it in the browser again or something. I forget how it. I don't know. It was weird. Like, copy it straight into the browser or something. So you guys have any other thoughts on the Orpheus story?
Well, you don't trust a satire or Pan, the one that was going to try and seduce his wife at the beginning, and then it comes full circle because these women are under the spell or under the guise of Dionysus.
Yeah.
And him and Pan are very much, Pan is very much under that spell himself.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, if there's anything that you've learned, if you've read any mythology, is you don't trust a satyr with a woman in any form. Yeah.
I don't think there's a unlike regular issues of Sandman, they all have like a title splash that has all the credits and everything. So I wanted to mention that I think the artist was Brian Talbot with and Mark Buckingham did the inkers. So there was did the inking, yeah. So there was a distinct penciler and inker on this one instead of the same artist on both.
Yeah, it's I have a little title. It gives me like just a title page.
Okay, interesting. All right, yeah. Mine just didn't mention anything or anyone.
Well, it's clearly not in the main
part. Yeah, it's not in the main series. So.
Yeah, they just gave me an extra page with that information on it.
I like the art in the issue though.
Yeah.
It's amazing what an inker can do.
Yeah, exactly. A good one like Mark Buckingham. He's really good.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the story of Orpheus before we move along here?
What ones were left?
Okay, so what I got left is the one about the wolves, like the guy is the wolf, that
Guy is a
transforms into the
wolf.
wolf, telling ultimately his granddaughter, like, which one is that? That's like 38. And then
Oh, The Hunt, that one.
The Hunt, yes.
Where at the end the grandfather basically, I mean, because the granddaughter's like blowing him off, saying, like the story is like ancient. It doesn't jive with the times. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And then at the end, like as he leaves, he kind of infers that was him in the story, and that's how he
Yes.
met and that's how he
That's
met
how him and her grandmother met.
her grandmother met apparently, and then they just kind of leave it open ended and like up to you to kind of decide what
that whole story, like
what you think of that, I guess.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think of that one. That was easily, I think, my least favorite of this whole set.
I enjoyed the banter between the grandfather and the granddaughter to some degree, and anytime I've reread it, I've enjoyed that. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't get much out of it beyond that.
Yeah, the weird guy that comes to try to collect the items from him, and and then like just shows up, and then he like goes after this. He's going after this beautiful daughter of a king, and he just when he sees her, he's like, nah, nope. And he goes back. Like it's just, I don't know. It didn't do much for me. I guess like the grandfather, like it's well written. It just didn't do anything. Like the banter is well written.
It did. But Dacre mentioned it, but I was going to say that also. It did kind of remind me of The Princess Bride. I haven't read American Gods. I want to read that.
Hey, Comic Vet, what's going on? What about you, Unruly? Do you have any thoughts on The Hunt?
Refresh my memory again. That's not in the first volume of the omnibus, and I didn't realize it. I'd have brought volume 2 with me.
That's the one. So it's the story where there's the old man telling his granddaughter a story, and he's basically about. I mean, they're basically. What's the word I'm looking for?
So I think this is the one. This is the only issue Duncan Eagleson was the penciler on, and Vince Locke did the inks. But I think this is the only book that pair worked on, if I'm not.
Yeah, and it's like gypsies, and he like turns into a wolf. Like the story he's telling her is about this boy that turns into a wolf, and he meets this other wolf girl, but he's trying to find this other girl. It's just, I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I don't think we need to like spend 20 minutes on that issue necessarily.
Then move along.
Move along. Okay. All right. Well, next up was, I don't know what the title of this one is. The one with Marco Polo. Soft Places. There you go.
Soft Places.
Where, he gets basically in this place where there's people from different times are all gathered, and there's a young Marco Polo, and there's was it Teddy Roosevelt? Is that one of them? The ones? I forget who who's this guy supposed to be? I forget who the other people are supposed to be that are like meeting here.
Isn't Fields of Green back in this one? Like, isn't this
Fields of Green? I think
that's okay. So that's like the main thing that I always walk away remembering from this is that it's a return of Fields of Green as a character in the book, and Marco Polo component of it is kind of interesting, I guess. But I don't know. Conceptually, the Soft Places, right, is like how he kind of conveniently gets people from different time periods together in the dreaming, right? Isn't it some sort of like loophole thing?
Yeah,
that's what the Soft Places
he shows up at the end and sort of like helps inspire Marco Polo. I mean, eventually for all that he's going to do. And
he does this blow his sand in his face thing.
Yeah.
Which I always enjoy.
But yeah, it was another one that I was like, these were the two I think were like, really? I don't know. They didn't do a whole lot for me in terms of like progressing the story. What did you guys think of them? Unruly? Do you remember that one at all?
No, but I do remember the next one.
Yeah.
Right.
The next one I actually enjoyed quite a bit.
Which is that Ramadan, or is that another one?
No, that's the one with the little boy that we see that was the son of the other version of Sandman.
Oh.
Like, and that the
issue number?
Matthew and Cain and Abel. Basically, he drifts off into the dreaming, and Matthew and Cain and Abel.
That Parliament of Rooks.
Who?
Is it called Parliament of Rooks? Is that the?
That's probably what it's called. I don't. I'm looking.
Is it Sandman issue 40?
Probably.
I have no other way of referencing it unless I.
Yeah, it's issue 40.
It is okay.
Yeah, it doesn't give me an issue number, and I don't see like a title page on that one.
Yeah,
I'm missing the title page here.
This is the cover, right? The McKean cover.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, there it is. I just missed the title. Yes, it is Parliament of Rooks.
Yeah.
So we got Eve, and we got Cain and Abel, and we got Matthew, and basically the little boy drifts off into the dreaming, and it's basically
little boy's got dreaming powers.
Yes.
Little skills.
Because of where he was born and everything, while a dream was gone, he has some of these powers that he can move into the dreaming. And yeah, Cain and Abel and Eve all tell stories, basically, to this little kid. And I love
come on, you gotta love the mini death and mini
this
Morpheus.
is the best part.
I mean, come on. You gotta love it.
Yeah, Parliament of Rooks. There you go.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Well, what I like is, and Gaiman does this at more than one place, we're reading a story, and in that story, someone's telling a story, and within that story, someone's telling a story. He gets real meta sometimes.
Yeah. True.
Well, and then the whole story about the crows telling the story or whatever, the Parliament of Rooks telling the story. That the one in the middle is telling a story, and that of course gets Cain mad at him again. But
Cain.
Yeah. But that one was good. I enjoyed that one more than the other two that were kind of part of this little section.
Yeah. Well, it was cool. It was cool to see the whole follow up on Matthew.
Yeah.
From his introduction and that thread continue.
Yeah. Anything with like I thought Matthew was the Raven.
He is.
Oh yeah. Sorry, not Matthew. Daniel.
Daniel. Yes.
Daniel.
Yeah. Although I think Matthew's one of my favorite characters of like
Matthew is definitely one of the best characters, but yeah.
So, okay. Well, that brings us to our last one of this volume, which is.
Well, did they give you the short story to read? Like they in this trade, they start with the short story from which I didn't really even know why, but from Vertigo preview number 1. It's called Fear of Falling, and that was included as the beginning of this trade. I don't know why. I mean, it's a cool little like shorter, issue that was not issue story.
Oh, and that is actually like the end of
the previous hardcover
of Deluxe Edition 1, and I read that before. We didn't discuss it, but I read it before. Yeah,
right, because it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's like a 12-page story. It's this one.
I thought we talked about it before.
I don't think we did.
But yeah, I did not reread that for this.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll mention is it has another different artist, Kent Williams, which it's just interesting to see some of these artists that only worked on either 1 or 2 issues or a little story here, a little story there, and not major runs on the book.
Yeah. Okay.
But it was a cool little story that I think was thematically about like the fear of failure and the fear of taking risks and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end, that actor was like, ready to go, take the risk, take the leap, take the jump.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, oh, like that's a motivating kind of story, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But Ramadan's like the big issue, I would say, in this final one, right? Issue 50.
Yes, issue 50 is Ramadan, which is basically starts us off with Baghdad at its heights. The city of cities. It's basically perceived to be like this perfect city that we're being introduced to, but the ruler is discontent that things are, are too good, too perfect. And we see him go through this down into the basement, and he goes through all these different levels and past all this stuff in order to summon Dream. And how would you describe what I'm curious what you guys think of that, because it's basically he summons Dream to say, look, this is my city's perfect, but it'll never be better than this, so let's make it never have been this. I don't like. He basically turns it into like this horrible thing. What did you guys think about this whole story?
He's Augustus, only with a fast forward control.
Sort of. It is very much this very Again, a real guy. Yes.
Okay, dude, let me say something real quick. You need to get Baedeker on one of these shows. He's making some killer insights in the chat.
Yeah, seriously, he's way better than us. Anyway, as far as what I thought about the issue, I mean, look, for me, this issue's been more about the art and the lettering and just the beauty of it. The story was okay to me. It was fine, but like, I mean, can we just give a shout out to the introduction of that costume for Dream in this? Like that crazy like wizard version of his outfit. It's just, the artwork is just spectacular, and the lettering is absolutely incredible.
And the colors are beautiful too.
Oh yeah, the art in this is amazing.
Yes. Every time I've ever flipped through this issue, I've been in awe of the creativity on the page from that aspect.
And who was the artist on this one, Cobby?
P. Craig Russell.
Okay.
P. Craig Russell, yeah.
Todd
Klein on the lettering, obviously. You can get me off full screen.
Yeah. We were 2 pages, so.
One of the cover reproductions a friend of mine just did for me was a P. Craig Russell Elric cover.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love a P. Craig Russell something at some point. Nice.
Yeah, I love like when he's going down through the caverns. Like, there's just so much. The art is just very, very cool.
And just the design work, just it's really nice. Yeah. It's really impressive. And even the McKean cover, it's one of the few McKean images that kind of has like a feel like it's related to the issue in a way. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because not many of them are. A lot of them are so abstract. They're not directly correlating to the story. This one kind of does.
Yeah, here, like if you want to get the.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's really, really, it's a standout issue of Sandman I think, because it's a fan favorite one for sure.
Yeah.
People about the books.
But it's another one of, which I feel like there's a lot of this in here, is like the arrogance of men, like a little bit, and how Dream, when he gets pulled into some of these situations, how he basically, we got the arrogance of Orpheus and that he could save her and wouldn't listen to anybody telling him not to, and or not to try. And like this guy is like, he's like, oh, my kingdom is perfect. It'll never be this good again. So let's have Dream make it a dream. Well, then it goes from this perfect thing to like ruin. And it's, and he doesn't even remember it. It's just a dream at that point. So did it ever exist? And it's just like his own.
This came out during the Gulf War, right? Or was it right after? Was it after? It was.
It's been right around that time for sure.
I'd have been maybe slightly after.
Right? Yeah, my animals are not happy with me, but yeah. So I mean, what did you think of like the themes of just this one, in addition to the art? Unruly. What did you think of just the story here?
It was solid. It's always I don't think it's hubris. That's not the word I'm looking for. But you mentioned it earlier. We're just weird critters, aren't we? We're never satisfied.
Yeah.
With anything, ever.
I mean, there's magic carpet rides in this one, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's Aladdin. It's,
I love it. Yeah.
It's the perfect, at this point, it's everything that you get in the Arabian Nights stories was true, and it was there, and they had all of it, the magic and all of it was real, and then he just gave it away.
This line here is like one of the most gangster lines. I mean, it's almost like Tony Soprano, like the King Shy Guy's talking to Dream. He's like, you are threatening me? And then he's like, I do not threaten. I merely advise caution. I love that line.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the guy is so, like, over impressed with himself, you know, and basically, and Dream's like, okay, I'll give you what you want, and then it's all, and everything he had was gone, and because it was like, oh, it's so perfect, I built this perfect thing, and now, and I want it to last in some form forever. Well, that means it never actually existed. It was always just a dream. Oh my gosh, my animals are driving me crazy. So, all right. Any final thoughts on this volume, you guys, before we close this out?
What's the next arc?
I don't know. It's volume 7. I don't know what that is.
Brief Lives. Yeah.
These are great, and like I said, I really enjoy them. But I'm ready for a good long story chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would think that was my general impression here. It's like some of these issues were good, some of them were okay. A couple of them I didn't particularly care for. I mean, overall, it was more good than bad. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, it's similar to, I guess, Dream Country in the fact that these were like issues that came out in between, you know, quote unquote, the main arcs.
Yeah.
Right.
I felt like it was, and maybe I'm wrong, obviously, because I haven't read the whole arc, but it felt like there wasn't much here that you really needed to read if you were just trying to get the story of Dream. Like, there's some little tidbits here and there, a little more filling out of the character, but a whole bunch of stuff that he just had fun writing side stories. It's like, oh, I'll write about this. Oh, I'll write about this kind of a thing. And like, because it's Dream, and like, you know, he could write about these, because there's a bunch of like actual historical people that are, you know, or things that are historically based on some actual historical event that he was able to incorporate. And it felt like he was just having some fun with some issues that in between arcs, like Kami said.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Gaiman's intent, but we certainly see that Dream throughout our history, for all of his arrogance and ego, he doesn't mind poking his fingers in our affairs.
Yeah.
Just on the oddest of whims occasionally. And
Right.
And the man damn sure can fall in love with some more, or at least lust after some mortal women.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. He definitely he has entanglements, that's for sure. For a guy who likes to pretend he's above it, he has a lot of entanglements. Which is why I think it's so easy for the other three to like get him to do kind of stupid stuff, because, you know, or to get involved in their games, because he does like to get entangled with humans, and despite all his acting to the otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's probably drives Desire's hatred of him or anger at him, is the fact that they know who they are, and they're all about people.
Yeah.
And Dream pretends he's not.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, they definitely like to push his buttons, for sure.
I will add, you know, I don't want to be redundant, so I'll just focus on the art, I guess, since that's what I like focusing on a lot. It's a cool collection because you get 8 different artists. You know what I mean? And you get 8 different artists that only worked on a little bit of the work, whereas, you know, in the prior volumes, it's like the guys that have done the heavy lifting for the majority of the book. So
yeah, none of these.
So I like that you get that little different flavors in here, like the P. Craig Russell stuff, the Stan Woke stuff, or the McManus. Even though McManus did a bunch of Game of You stuff, though.
Yeah, and I will say, like, generally speaking, I don't like guest artists on books. I like when a story has an art
consistency.
Style yeah. But this works because he's telling all these different, like, it works in Sandman because he's telling these different stories, and these are one-offs and often from different characters' perspectives, and they're different times.
It's a connected anthology. It's like it's not a straight up anthology, but it's a connected anthology.
Yeah. And as long like when he gets to the main arcs, he goes back to the main folks, and then but when he's telling these like little one-offs that he wants to like include Dream in these stories that he's really wanting to, I feel like he wants to tell these other stories, and he just includes Dream. Finds a way to tie it to Dream, and and so for me that it doesn't nearly bother me. Like when I flip the page, it's like, oh, another new artist. It's like, okay, it is in some ways it tells me, well, we're getting some side story here. It's really what it does, and I'm okay with that for this. Like a lot of times it kind of turns me off to get like 12 different artists on a book, but this does not bother me nearly like some of the others would. So,
for sure.
All right. Well, we are at our hour, and I know, Kavi, you need to go. So we're going to call it right there. If you guys got any.
Yeah, Taco Truck calling my name.
Taco Truck
calling your name. I got Original Art Hour, the 39th episode. We got Sleepy Reader 666, Damien from the Portland crew with Bueller and Bob and Jen. Everybody, I think I'm sure all those guys know each other on the west coast up there in the Pacific Northwest. So I know he's a avid original comic art collector, but he hasn't really posted it much or anywhere that I can gather. So it should be interesting. He's gonna have like a second camera to like be able to zoom in on his artwork and show it that way. I'm not gonna do like the scans on the screen thing because he didn't have a scanner. So it should be an interesting one. It's a late night show, 10:30 Eastern on Comic Books NYC tomorrow. So I'm excited to do that. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything else.
Nice. Well, Unruly makes a video a couple times a year, but I don't.
I just completed my Kirby Demon run.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
So I'll put a video out showing them all.
Very cool.
I need to do a video because I completed my TMNT run. I need to do a video on that. I've been
you definitely
not doing that, but yeah.
All right. Well, I got my usual weekend stuff as far as like indie show stuff. We're supposed to be talking Deadly Class next week, volumes 2 and 3. And maybe we'll have more Black Hammer next week. We're still trying to iron out when that's going to be for sure. So got those coming up, and hopefully probably be after Christmas, we'll come back for volume 7 of Sandman, and hopefully by then I can figure out a way to get Jen a link that works and she can actually join us. Let's hope. So, all right.
Let's go back to Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
Remember that?
We might have to go back to Google Hangouts to make it work. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and we will catch you next time. Later.